Looks like Gary Busey's got a new playmate at the Puzzle Factory. G'day guys, this is Holy Critics signing in and welcome back to the channel once again. And boy, have I got a story for you to listen to today. Now, you guys know I like to rant and rave about Hollyweird. And just recently, I covered a story about Gary Busey and some of the bizarre antics that he has got up to in recent times. But boy, oh boy, I think Andy Dick takes the cake this time around. I think he's now risen above. He's elevated himself into a position of supremacy when it comes to cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Now, Andy Dick was somebody that I didn't know by name. I just recognized his picture because I recall watching him in some 90s sitcom, and he starred alongside a few big actors that I know of, like Joe Rogan and Phil Hartman, and I think John Lovitz was in that show as well, not sure. But Andy Dick was a office clown in that show, and he was quite funny. And for the longest time, I didn't see him. I guess I just thought he was typecast as that type of character and couldn't get another acting gig. But boy, oh boy, was I wrong. He has had a roller coaster ride of a life and a major fall from grace in the past 20-25 years. And obviously, I haven't kept up with all the developments in his demise, I guess we'd say. But just recently, he has been given pretty much hard time. He's been given chance after chance, and he's just repeat offended in some of the most gratuitous ways that you can imagine. This guy is not a victim. He is not innocent. You know, we can excuse some of Gary Busey's behaviors because of his brain trauma that he experienced in the 80s when he crashed his motorbike. But I don't know of such an excuse for this gentleman. And as we're about to read, you're going to understand why this guy doesn't get much sympathy from me, rather condemnation. And I'm not the judgmental type, but I think this guy warrants it. Dick was arrested in April 2018 after an Uber driver told the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department that he reached for and grabbed his crotch. After his conviction, the court also ordered Dick complete 52 Alcoholics Anonymous sessions, 52 Sexual Compulsion Anonymous sessions, whatever that is, and 12 mental health counseling sessions and pay restitutions to the victim. After his release, he will spend the next 12 months on summary probation, where he'll be monitored while he finishes the aforementioned classes and counseling. The case was also just the latest in a string of disturbing legal troubles, many of which involve physical assault. Hence why I don't really have much sympathy for him. The actor was sentenced to 14 days in jail back in 2019 on sexual battery charges when he grabbed a woman's butt when she walked past him on the sidewalk, though he only spent one night in jail due to overcrowding. Typical for California. Let the criminals rule the streets. He also spent time in jail after an altercation with his ex-boyfriend, who he claimed hit him over the head with a liquor bottle during an argument. He was also arrested for felony assault with a deadly weapon with his fiancée Elisa Jordana, stating Dick went after her lover with a metal chair. I could use a lot of puns in this article. Metal rod, maybe? That would have been a better one to use there. But my God, I thought he had an ex-boyfriend. Elisa Jordana sounds like a female. So what is he? Is he swinging both ways, is he? Very, very trendy. Very, very liberal. Back in May, he was booked into an Orange County jail on suspicion of felony sexual battery after an altercation at a campground was streamed live on YouTube. So he's just sort of escalating his crimes now where he can sort of record them, just for the whole world to see how depraved he has become. Just last month, Dick was arrested for felony burglary after he was accused of stealing power tools from a home that was under construction in Santa Barbara. Power tools. I don't even want to imagine what he planned on doing with those power tools. Wow. Someone needs an exorcist, I think. Dick was apprehended trying to flee the scene and was charged with first-degree residential burglary. He also alleged in April that he was mugged in Las Vegas. So, after all that string of offences, one time he's actually a victim of crime. Karma? Maybe? The actor has struggled with drugs and other substances abuse issues over the years, having gone through various rehab programs more than 20 times. Whoa. Well, you hear about relapsing, but 20 times? I think you've got to kind of cut the line at that point. Whatever he earned during his heyday as an actor, surely he's blown through all that money now. I mean, he's living pretty much on Skid Row. I mean, he's harassing women in the street. I imagine that is his home at this point. He's just wandering the streets, attacking people. This is what the machine does to people. They come to Hollywood seeking fame and fortune, but in the end, they find infamy. And this gentleman is the epitome of ignominious demise. Wow. And I haven't covered all of it yet. The story only gets more depraved from this point in, so you've been forewarned. So here's where the story gets even darker. After reading that article, I decided to do a deeper dive into the history, the biography of Andy Dick. And what I found was an even darker side to this man. It seems as though anybody who had the misfortune of associating with him met an untimely end. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that. It's almost like he is accursed. And if you spend any length of time with him, the curse might even rub off on you. Now, that might sound superstitious, but read along with me because it gets really insane from here on in. As Andy's star rose in Hollywood, so seemingly grew his notorious appetite for anything intoxicating. Andy had an old friend from his Chicago days who tried to set him on the straight and narrow, but neither Andy nor his AA sponsor, Chris Farley, would manage to escape the harrowing clutches of addiction. In 1997, two events occurred that drastically altered the course of Andy's life and the future of comedy itself. At the time, news radio was in its 4th season, and Andy's sobriety was a distant memory. On December 18th, 1997, hilarity titan Chris Farley died of an overdose in his Chicago apartment, sending shockwaves through the comedy world. While the exact date is unclear, we know that very shortly before or after the death of his sponsor, Andy attended a Christmas party at the house of his friend and news radio co-host, Phil Hartman. Phil Hartman's wife, Bryn, was a recovering addict who at the time was 10 years sober. According to Jon Lovitz, Bryn relapsed the night of that Christmas party, with cocaine supplied by none other than Andy Dick. 5 months later, Bryn, high on cocaine, murdered her husband Phil before ending her own life. Jon Lovitz replaced Phil Hartman on news radio, but the show wouldn't last long following his loss. These cataclysmic deaths started a steep downward spiral for Andy Dick, and his behavior worsened to the point where he was known more in the press for his inebriation than his comedy. Andy somehow managed to stay out of trouble long enough to create and star in The Andy Dick Show, which ran for 3 seasons from 2001 to 2002 on MTV. For a brief moment in time, it seemed as if Andy Dick had righted the ship. Having his own show allowed him to focus on his talent instead of his vices. But that was before he started to get grabby. Andy was arrested in 2004 for indecent exposure after mooning patrons of a McDonald's. While this seems like a pretty innocuous prank in a vacuum, it marked the beginning of a pattern of lascivious behavior that would have required most of us non-celebrities to go door to door introducing ourselves whenever we moved into a new neighborhood. In 2005, Andy Dick was invited to perform at the Comedy Central roast of Pamela Anderson. Without warning, Andy moved behind the Baywatch star and grabbed her breasts while making lame plastic surgery jokes. He also tried to grope Courtney Love, who slapped him in retaliation before attempting to mime oral sex on Pam's then-husband, Tommy Lee. While shocking at the time, Andy Dick's behavior towards Pamela Anderson was somehow just the first of his on-air gropings. 2 years later, Andy would have to be removed from his appearance on Jimmy Kimmel Live after repeatedly grabbing the bare leg of future first daughter Ivanka Trump. And there's actually a video of this. So let's see his predatory behaviors. So Jimmy's just sort of laughing it off, but clearly she's not very comfortable with this creepazoid touching her. There you go again, touching her again. And so at that point, they had to grab security and take him out of the studio. So there you have it. By all means, please tell me your thoughts in the comments below about Andy Dick and whether he's one of the more sexually deviant. Actually, that's no, I couldn't say that. I mean, Hollywood is filled to the brim with guys like Andy Dick. So I'll answer that question for you. Anyway, I'll wrap the video up there, guys. Enjoy the rest of your week. And this is Holy Critic signing out.